Many of the questions I was asking back then, are the same ones that today's atheists and deists are asking. And because they can't find the answers, most of them remain atheists and deists. Friends, there are answers to all of these. Please really get in touch with Hizar Kapısı, with Said Bey. You will find the answers to those questions there. Psychologically, this is something that truly wounds a person. But later, when I found those answers again and became a Muslim once more, believe me, I felt as if tons of weight had been lifted from my shoulders. I felt such a sense of relief that I remember I just sobbed and sobbed. I still get a bit emotional, please excuse me, because it felt as if I had been ungrateful to God. My name is Atif Ramazanoğlu. I'm 43 years old. I live in Istanbul. I'm married and I have one child. Until I was about 40, I always thought my faith was so strong that I used to say the world wouldn't end as long as I was alive. I was a Muslim. Later, questions began to form in my mind, and these questions grew so large that I felt the need to share them with someone, no matter who I directed these questions to. And I'm not talking about a random person on the street. I'm talking about people who have studied these subjects. I couldn't get a complete answer to my questions. And after a certain point, I made a decision. The religion I believe in cannot possibly be without answers. So there must be something lacking in this religion. I said, I'm leaving this religion. Throughout my life, I always believed in a creator. I believed in one during that time too. But here's the thing. During that period when I was a deist, for about a year and a half, even though I believed in a creator, the lack of answers to those questions led me to decide not to believe in any religion, any prophet, or any holy book. But afterwards, I didn't give up. I always continued my research because I looked at it this way. I'm only human. I could be wrong. I might find these answers one day and regret my decision. For that reason, I always kept researching. I used to send Friday messages to my friends. I kept doing that too. And it was because of one of those Friday messages that a friend of mine got back to me. This friend who replied to me always used to send me specific passages from the Risale-i Nur. I wrote a message to this friend saying, I'm not interested in these things anymore. Please don't send them to me. Let's just wish each other a good Friday and that's enough. Thankfully, this friend called me right away, even though I hadn't spoken to him on the phone or seen him in person for years. He was my friend from high school, Fahrettin. I want to thank him very much for this. For reasons I'm about to explain, Fahrettin spoke with me on the phone for about an hour. He asked what my problem was, what my questions were. He tried to answer them, but I wasn't satisfied. Then Fahrettin told me, we have a brother named Said. Let's take you to him. Maybe his knowledge will be enough to answer your questions. As I mentioned earlier, since I never give up easily and I thought there was a real chance I might eventually find the answer somewhere, I said, of course, absolutely. We met him at the place where Said was waiting for us, just as we had planned. And from 12 at night until 4:30 in the morning, bless him, he stayed up, and even though he had nothing to gain from it, he tried to answer my questions. That night, Said and I couldn't agree either. But I grew very fond of him and the other friends at that place, so I kept going back. They would be praying. I'd be sitting in the back on my phone, scrolling through social media, just looking at things. And no one ever asked me why I wasn't praying. They left me free. I noticed that. I really liked that. There was no pressure, and I kept going. Said has a book he wrote. It's called Berderde bin Deva, which means 1,000 cures for one ailment. He was kind enough to give me a copy. One day, I had some free time at home. I went out onto the balcony and started reading it. An example Said gave in the book really struck me. That example started leading me to other examples, and I felt a spark of inspiration. And that inspiration helped me find the answers to my questions. And I was actually both so happy and so sad. The reason I was happy, actually, I'm sorry. Let me first tell you why I was sad. It felt like I had wasted a year and a half of my life. The reason I was happy was that I had found Islam again, that I had found the right path again. At our next meeting, I explained this to Said. He was very happy too. We hugged. Regarding my sadness, Said told me something wonderful. He said, your time wasn't wasted because you found it by genuinely thinking, by using your mind. You now truly believe. You needed to go through that experience to reach this stage. And thanks to them, that's how I met Hizar Kapısı. That's how I met Said. And I say this from the bottom of my heart. If you're not an atheist or a deist, just out of stubbornness, if you can say, I'm only human, I could be wrong. If there is someone who is truly brave enough to answer my questions, I am ready and willing to listen. Therefore, I urge you to please meet with Hisar Kapısı and Said. The answers to your questions might not come instantly in the snap of a finger. They'll come step by step. But keep going and you'll see that the questions in your mind will be answered just as they were for me. Maybe it won't be a person like Said who does it. Maybe inspiration will come to you too. I've come to believe it's all in God's hands. Why couldn't I find the answers for a year and a half? Because this meeting had to happen first, and only then did the answers come. I question all of these things too. I'm of the mind that there's a truly miraculous connection at play, and I'm truly very glad that I got to meet Said and the other friends at that place. May God be pleased with them, I say. Now, first of all, for a Muslim to become a deist, or maybe even an atheist, which can happen among Muslims. But let me speak from my own perspective. For a Muslim to become a deist, it feels like you're driving a screwdriver into your own heart. Because can you imagine? I'll speak from my own experience, my age. That decision to become a deist, it happened when I was around 40 years old. You see, I come from a conservative family. Since my childhood, I've been going to Friday prayers at the very least. I mean, from the time my father would take us by the hand to the mosque when we were very young. If you look at it that way, your whole life has been spent with Islam. You've performed your prayers, and at times, it's even gotten to the point where you wake up for tahajjud, for the night prayers. Then this person suddenly denies everything except the Creator. This, for one, causes a huge collapse within a person. You feel like everything you believe in has suddenly slipped right through your fingers. And, you know, with the modern term, they call it depression. You fall into a kind of depression, and you keep on searching. At least that's what I did. I didn't give up, and if there's anyone else who has come to this situation, I advise them not to give up either. There are answers to all of these questions. Many of the questions I was asking back then are the same ones that atheists and deists are asking today. And for most of them, their atheism and deism continue because they can't find the answers. There are answers to all of them, my friends. Truly, please get in touch with Hisar Kapısı, with Said. You will find the answers to those questions there. Psychologically, it really wounds a person. But later on, when I found those answers again and became a Muslim once more, believe me, I felt as if tons of weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I felt such an incredible sense of relief. I remember I just sobbed uncontrollably. I still get emotional like this. Please forgive me, because it felt as if I had been so ungrateful to God. He has laid out every kind of miracle before us, laid out all the proof. But despite that, even when the answers are right in front of our eyes, we still try to push them away. And now, especially for having received those thoughtful and insightful answers, and for continuing with these important and valuable lessons, for hearing and reflecting on the topics within these lessons, and for taking the time to truly consider them. Believe me, my feelings towards God, they're honestly, really, truly very difficult emotions. I mean, please forgive me. That feeling of like ingratitude, it's still inside me, but I hope my Lord will forgive me. If you have any other questions, I'll try to answer them. Actually, let me say this. Since my period of research was ongoing, and I hadn't just dismissed everything because there was still hope, I hadn't entered that phase of despair. But you're right, for some people, when they completely dismiss it and don't even bother to research it, all their hope is completely gone. I mean, they stop searching. After that point, it's impossible for them to get an answer. If you don't ask anyone, how are you going to get an answer? Because of this, it's very normal for those people to feel that way. But I kept going with the thought, I could be wrong, I might be thinking incorrectly, there could be answers to this. So for me, rather than what you mentioned, it was more a case of my mind being constantly troubled. I couldn't even focus on my work. Unfortunately, I'm a smoker. I started smoking a lot more during that time because really thoughts like, what if I'm wrong? What if I find an answer? What if I'm wrong for thinking this way? What if I'm about to throw my whole life away for nothing because I was thinking incorrectly? These were the thoughts that were truly destroying me at that time. Maybe, I don't know, but let me say this. Perhaps the reason God sent me help again, the reason He deemed it so, I don't know, God knows best. It might be because I was thinking that way. Because I was constantly trying to examine myself. You're human, your thinking is limited, it only goes so far. The mistake could be with you. Because like I said earlier, you've grown up in an Islamic environment for 40 years. You know what's written in the Qur'an. You've opened the translation and read it. There are such miraculous things in there that it's impossible for a human being to have created them. Let me give you an example. There's a verse about the expansion of the universe. Now, 14 or 1500 years ago, God forbid, a shepherd, an illiterate shepherd, I'm talking about our prophet, goes and retreats to a cave. He has no telescope. You might say that at that time, the Egyptians were very advanced and so on. But if I'm not mistaken, it was in the 1960s that the expansion of the universe was discovered by Hubble. Until that time, no one knew the universe was expanding. And I repeat, an illiterate shepherd is going to go and write a book that includes the fact that the universe is expanding. That's not possible. That's what was troubling me. What was causing that back and forth? I mean, I know it contains so many miraculous things. I know it's impossible for it to have come from a human hand. And on top of that, because I couldn't get answers to my questions, I was going back and forth. That's what was causing all the turmoil. So for that reason, but again, I say praise be to God. My Lord helped me. I suppose my continuing to search must have had some value in my Lord's eyes, because He gave me a chance to return, a chance for salvation. So from here, I'm saying that every servant of God has a chance for salvation until they take their last breath. You know the saying, come, come, whoever you are. God Almighty gives that chance until the very last breath. Please don't miss this chance. No matter which city you're in, it doesn't matter, or even which country you're in, please get in touch with Hisar Kapusu, with Sight, or with the other friends here. Please get in touch with them. These friends have no ulterior motives. And I want to stress this point. They have absolutely no interest, neither financial nor any other kind. They do it only for the sake of God. They're trying to help people, to introduce Islam, to explain the realities of Islam, and to interpret the Qur'an. You have nothing to lose. Come and talk to them. None of the people here, no matter how tough your question is, will ever ask you, why are you asking that? They will not say that. They will do everything in their power to answer it. They will give it their all. Just give it a try. If it's not for you, you don't have to continue. But I say give it a try. Thank you very much. Thank you.